Her scream tore through the desert wind. When Cole Harding reached the ridge, he saw her, a young woman, half covered in dust and blood, her wrists bound tightly behind her back, 2 ropes stretched from her ankles to wooden stakes driven deep into the ground, holding her in a cruel, painful tension under the burning sun. Her torn clothes clung to her skin, streaked with blood and sand. The heat shimmered off the earth like fire. And for a heartbeat, Cole thought he was seeing a ghost. Every breath she took came out as a dry sob that didn't sound human anymore. Her body trembled with exhaustion, and from far away, it sounded wrong. Too wrong. Deeper. Please, I can't take it anymore. For a moment, Cole froze. The sound, the words. Anyone hearing that would think of sin. But when he rode closer, he saw the truth. The girl's lips were cracked, her throat dry from screaming. She wasn't begging for pleasure. She was begging for air. The heat pressed on her chest like a hand that would not lift. Sand stuck to the blood on her legs, turning every twitch into pain. A vulture circled once overhead, patient as Sunday. Cole felt time thin to a thread, and he cut faster. Cole jumped from his horse, knife in hand. The ropes had cut deep into her skin. Flies hovered over old blood. He sliced one knot, then another. The girl gasped, half fainting, half fighting. Her eyes opened for a second, wild with fear. She whispered one word, help. He lifted her head gently. Her pulse was weak, her knees bruised, black and blue. Cole's jaw tightened. Whoever did this wasn't just cruel. They were enjoying it. He glanced around the barren land. No footprints except his own horse tracks. No sound but the wind and her broken breathing. He poured a few drops of water onto her lips. The girl winced, whispering something about a man with a black coat and a camera. Cole's stomach turned cold. He looked toward the horizon, saw a glint of glass half buried in the sand. For a heartbeat, he thought it was a mirage, one of those tricks the desert plays on tired men. But the glass caught the light again, sharp and real, like the desert itself was pointing him toward the devil who did this. A broken camera lens. He muttered, Jesus, this ain't my sin. In that moment, the scene flipped. What looked filthy a minute ago became a rescue from hell. The woman wasn't a sinner. She was a victim. And the man who found her wasn't part of the crime. He was about to uncover it. Cole carried her to his horse. Every breath she took sounded like a confession. He didn't even know her name yet. But something in her eyes, even through the pain, told him this was no random act. Someone wanted her broken. Someone wanted this moment to be seen. As the wind rose and the desert swallowed their tracks, Cole looked back once more at the shattered glass on the ground. It reflected the dying sun like an eye still watching them. He whispered under his breath, who the hell was taking those pictures? And more importantly, why did they want her to be found exactly like that? The sun slid lower, painting the sky the color of old whiskey. Cole tied the horse outside his barn and carried the girl inside. Her skin burned with fever. He placed a damp cloth on her forehead, whispering softly, "You're safe now, whoever you are." When he stepped back outside, the desert felt different. Still, quiet, like it was waiting for something ugly to crawl out. And it did, a few miles away. A man named Jack Blackwell wiped the dust off a giant wooden camera. He wore a black duster, a hat pulled low, and eyes colder than a snake in winter. Folks used to call him a bounty gun, but he'd traded bullets for photographs, not the kind you hang on walls, the kind that buy silence. He carried glass plates in a leather case, wet with silver nitrate, ready to trap a person's soul in a single flash. Next to him sat a letter sealed in red wax, $5,000, payment due when the banker sees what his daughter has become. Jack chuckled, lighting a cigarette with hands that didn't shake. He looked at the empty clearing where the girl had been tied. Ropes cut, stakes fallen. His jaw tightened. Someone had ruined his masterpiece. He bent down, brushed the sand with his glove, and found a single boot print. Square heel, deep cut. A rancher's boot. He grinned. Well now, cowboy, looks like you got yourself in my picture too. Back at the barn, Cole sat by the fire. The girl stirred, murmuring in her sleep. Something about a black coat. Something about a camera clicking in the dark. Cole frowned, and his stomach twisting again. He opened his hand and stared at the glass shard he had found earlier. The edge caught the firelight, flashing just once, like a warning, outside. The wind carried a smell he didn't like, sulfur and smoke, like powder after a gunshot. Cole grabbed his rifle and stepped onto the porch. No sound, no movement, just the night watching back, miles away. Jack dipped another plate in chemicals and whispered, "You took my subject, rancher. So now, I'll take you." He packed up the camera and mounted his horse and rode into the darkness. Each hoofbeat echoed like a countdown. In the barn, the girl woke, breathing hard, whispering his name for the first time, Cole. And out there, in the vast, silent desert, something clicked again. Not thunder, not a gun. The sound of a lens cap snapping shut, though who was really hunting who tonight? The night stretched long over the ranch. Crickets sang somewhere out in the grass. Cole sat near the fire, cleaning his rifle, his eyes never leaving the door. The girl, now awake, sat on the edge of the bed wearing one of his shirts. It hung loose on her frame, her hair messy, but her eyes sharp. She looked at him and said softly, "My name is Evelyn." Cole nodded. "Name suits you." Her voice cracked as she whispered, "The man who tied me, he said he'd come back for the pictures." Cole's hand froze. Pictures, that word again. He stood, moved to the window, and stared out at the dark hills. The desert looked calm, but calm meant nothing out here. He said quietly, "If he's coming, he won't leave again." Evelyn tried to stand, her knees weak. He caught her before she fell, his hand brushing the edge of the bandage on her arm. For a moment their eyes met. It wasn't romance yet, but it was something close, something human, fragile, and dangerous. She pulled away, embarrassed. "I can take care of myself," Cole smiled. "Then you and I got that in common." Outside, a horse neighed. Too sharp. Too close. Cole grabbed his rifle, whispered, "Stay low." The barn door creaked open. A shadow stepped in, carrying the smell of smoke and silver. Black Jack. He had come for his camera plates, for his prize. Cole moved first, swinging the rifle stock hard across Jack's jaw. The man stumbled, but didn't fall. He swung back, fists heavy, eyes burning with hate. They fought in the dirt, raw and loud, every hit echoing off the wooden walls. The lantern swung above them, throwing wild shadows that looked like other men fighting in the dark. Boards cracked, horses kicked inside their stalls, screaming as if they felt the violence too. Evelyn crawled toward the saddle stand, her hand finding the small knife hidden in her boot. When Jack pinned Cole to the ground, she drove the blade deep into his thigh. He roared, grabbing for her, but Cole broke free and slammed him into the post. The fight ended with a crack of bone and silence. Cole tied Jack to the same beam where the saddles hung. Blood dripped slow onto the floor. Then Cole grabbed the camera plates stacked by the door and smashed them one by one. Each shatter sounded like justice breaking free. Evelyn slumped against the wall, breathing hard. Cole looked at her and said quietly, "It's over." But she shook her head. "Not yet. My father will find out. He'll think I shamed him." Cole's jaw clenched, then let him see who really did the shaming. Outside, the sky started to pale with dawn. Somewhere far off, a horse neighed again. Not Jack's. Someone else was coming. Before we find out who rides toward that ranch, take a breath, pour yourself a cup of tea, and tell me in the comments what time it is and where you're listening from. If you're still here with me, you're part of this story now. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next, because trust me, it's about to get even wilder. The sound of hooves broke the quiet morning. Cole looked up from the porch, his eyes narrowing as three riders came into view. Dust rolled behind them like smoke from Judgment Day. Sheriff Amos Reed led the way, coat flapping, badge dull from years of use. Two deputies followed, guns loose at their sides. Cole stepped down, rifle hanging low but ready. The sheriff raised a hand. "Morning, Cole. Heard there was trouble out here." Cole didn't blink. There was. "It's tied up in my barn." When they walked inside, Black Jack was still there, bound to the post, half conscious and mean as a coyote caught in a trap. The sheriff crouched, picked up a shattered piece of glass. This from him, Cole nodded. Sheriff sniffed it and said quietly, "Smells like flash powder." "I'll be damned. He's been using those new wet plates." Evelyn stood near the wall, pale but steady. She spoke before anyone asked. "He took pictures of me, sent letters to my father. Said he'd pay $5,000 to stop them from being printed." The sheriff turned to the deputy. "Chain him. We ride at dawn." He looked at Cole. "Judge in Dodge Creek will want to see this himself." Jack spat blood and grinned. "You think a judge will hang me, rancher? The man paying me owns that courthouse." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "Then maybe justice will find another way." At sunrise, the deputies found Jack dead in his cell. Rope around his neck, no note left behind. Maybe he hung himself, or maybe the desert decided for him. The sheriff tipped his hat to Evelyn. "Miss, you can ride home now. We'll send a telegram to your father." Her face stiffened. "I'm not going back. Your father's Silas Hart, ain't he? He'll send men after you." She looked straight at Cole, then let him. That afternoon, Cole buried the broken camera behind the barn. Evelyn helped him pack dirt over the shards. Neither spoke much, but the silence felt heavier than words. As the sun fell, a carriage appeared on the horizon. Polished, expensive, out of place. Cole's hand went to his gun. The man who stepped out wore a black suit and a banker's scowl. Silas Hart, Evelyn's father. He looked around the ranch like it was dirt under his boots. His voice was cold. "So this is where my daughter's been hiding." Evelyn stepped forward. "I wasn't hiding. I was surviving." He turned to Cole. "You saved her life, rancher. I'll pay you for that. But you'll stay away from her." Cole didn't move. He just said, calm and certain, "She's not for sale." Silas stared at him, hatred growing like wildfire. "You think you're good enough for my blood?" Evelyn's voice cut through the air. "He's the only one who didn't treat me like property." The wind went still. Silas climbed back into his carriage, face pale with rage, as the wheels turned away. Evelyn whispered, "He'll come back." Cole looked at her, eyes steady. "Then we'll be ready." But what Silas did next, nobody could have seen coming. For days after Silas left, the ranch stayed quiet. No carriages, no dust trails, just the hum of crickets and the sound of two hearts trying to find peace in the same silence. Evelyn worked beside Cole. Summer crept in slow, each day hotter than the last. Weeks passed before her strength returned. The fever broke slow, and her body carried the marks of the desert. Cole didn't rush her. Some days she could barely lift a bucket. Other days, she practiced holding the gun steady, just breathing through the pain. When she finally hit her first tin can, Cole smiled. Not bad for someone who learned to stand again before she learned to shoot. Not bad for a banker's daughter. She laughed softly. Not bad for a rancher's teacher. The laughter came easy after that. So did the long talks by the fire. Cole told her how the land had raised him when people wouldn't. Evelyn told him how money had caged her even before she was born. Somewhere between those stories, they fell in love without ever needing to say the word. But love in the West was never safe. But Silas didn't give up that easy. A few weeks later, 2 hired riders came to the ranch asking questions, pretending to be lawmen. Cole sent them away without a word, but the message was clear. Money